Hi there, it's that nerd Kaizen, and today we're going to be talking about red flags in gaming. And I know for a few people who are watching this, they would probably say that Valorant is a walking red flag. And you know what? You guys might have a point. You might have a point. Valorant might be a walking red flag. Regardless, I will share some of my personal red flags, as well as read some red flags that my viewers posted in my community tab. Now, my very first red flag would be for unreleased or brand new games, mainly focusing on their trailers. If the very first trailer that you release for a game has zero gameplay in it, that's a red flag for me, man. I know some people will point out Marathon, but for me, it goes way back. I remember when this one game called Marvel's Midnight Suns came out, I was so hyped for that game, but it didn't have any gameplay in its trailer, but it looked cool. Turns out it was just a turn-based Marvel game, which wasn't really my cup of tea. But then there's also Cyberpunk 2077, which its very first trailer or slash teaser didn't have any gameplay either, but I was still hyped for it. And a lot of gamers were as well, mainly because Keanu Reeves was in it. And that game kind of started off quite rocky for a couple of years, but eventually it did make a comeback. Next, I want to read a comment from a viewer named Jacket Noob who says his red flags are his teammates and rank, which I feel like that isn't just a Valorant thing. I think everyone from different types of shooters and competitive game modes can relate to that. Now, my next personal red flag are game modes, or at least like a game session loop that is designed to last longer than 30 minutes. Now, for a reason why that's a red flag for me is because that means it's no longer just a game, it's a second job. In my opinion, no gameplay loop should last longer than 30 minutes when it comes to shooters. If anything, 30 minutes might be too long. I feel like 20 minutes is that sweet spot. Anything over 30 minutes is just not a no-go for me. Plus, you gotta realize, if you're stuck with a bad teammate, you're stuck with them for one whole hour. I would rather be having a bad game for 20 minutes than rather have a bad game for a whole hour plus. It's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of Valve's new game, Deadlock, because there's people in the alpha talking about how some of their games were at over an hour, like an hour and 20 minutes. And it's not just a one-off. It's quite common for that game to last over an hour and 10 minutes. That's way too long for me, especially since I don't have that much free time to sink my teeth into games. I kind of felt this with Valorant too, where I only have about like 2 hours to myself. That's basically like 2.5 games of Valorant. And that's if I don't warm up. If you're only someone who can only play maybe 3 Valorant matches per day, you're kind of SOL if you just have a rude teammate or going against a smurf. I feel like game modes that are over 30 minutes don't really respect your time as an adult who is also a gamer. And next we have Byron, who just said Ubisoft. Yeah, I can't even defend Ubisoft either, because I can't think of a single game from them that I actually enjoyed playing. The closest is probably Hyperscape, but even then I didn't really sink my teeth into Hyperscape because I was playing Spellbreak at the time and I had more fun with Spellbreak. Hashtag bring back Spellbreak or a game similar to it. But Brian, I guess that's valid. That's somewhat valid. Now this next red flag has something to do with shooters that only release one game mode. The year is 2025. What are you doing banking all your eggs in one basket with one kind of game mode? Now, don't get me wrong, you can have one game mode that's considered your premier one, but you should have multiple for people who just want to relax and chill on your game. Or maybe they just want something different, you know? Look at Battle Royale. Each and every single one of them have different type of game modes for people to enjoy. Fortnite is being closer and closer to Roblox. Apex has multiple different mixtapes of game modes. Warzone has freaking Call of Duty as well as Rebirth Island, which is an amazing game mode. I like it. Shoot, even PUBG is more than just a battle royale. So any shooter, especially if it's a first-person shooter coming out in the year 2025, you have to have more than just one game mode. And if you don't, that's a red flag for me. Random Gamer says when the game focuses too much on pro play and makes abilities kill. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this seems very specific to Valorant, but hey man, you're spitting facts. I feel like this is only a red flag if you're a casual gamer or in low elo. And when I say low elo, I'm talking about plat and below. Mainly because the way pro play is handled is completely different than what you will see in your ranked games in general. And makes abilities kill, well, we got some good news for you. Riot Games is always killing agents that have overpowered abilities. It might take them a while, but they get to it eventually. Now, this individual says AAA games that are released on PC, which I low-key want to disagree with. Yes, there's a lot of AAA games out there that just have missed the mark drastically, but there's a lot of bangers that have came out too. Like, I consider Elden Ring a AAA game. Same thing with Lies of P. Not all AAA games are bad, but I guess nowadays you can say that indie games are slowly taking over gamers' preference when it comes to the titles that they want to spend money on. Now, this next red flag might be a little bit of a hot take for the people who actually like competitive games, but just listen to me real quick, okay? If the vast majority, I mean like 60 to 70% of your player base are only playing the rank version of your game, that's a red flag for me when it comes to the enjoyability of the game long term. If all you have to offer is the rank mode, that's a no-go for me. I remember when I was younger, I just wanted to keep grinding rank all the time, but nowadays I just want to hang out and have fun with my friends, and rank can be very stress-inducing of a game mode and lead to more arguments than laughs. And this one, I'm not entirely sure I agree with it, but they say that any game over $20 is a red flag. I don't know. I feel like maybe for shooters, a first-person shooter that's like a multiplayer competitive game, then maybe. But if we're just talking about all games, that you're just wrong. There's so many banger games that came out that are over $20 and well worth your money. But hey, to each their own. But I will say that if a game is charging you upfront money to play it, like 40 or 60 bucks, and also has microtransactions on top of it with a battle pass, that would be a red flag to me. Just because I played a couple of games in the past, Naraka Blade Points being one of them, where you had to pay $20 to play the game, and they said it was a premium game where it was filled with bugs and their core mechanics of the game didn't work so well. So I will say that asking players to fork over like 60 bucks and you're including microtransactions and battle passes on top of that is a red flag. Now, this is something I've been seeing happening a lot more recently, maybe because of the whole like political landscape gaming has become. But if a game is coming out and is like declaring war against a group of other people, that's a red flag for me, you know? I won't go into politics too deeply, but I will have a different example like Halo. When they made a statement saying that the only BR that they're going to have is the battle rifle, that was a little bit of a red flag because it was kind of like declaring to everyone who actually wanted a battle royale, you're kind of out of luck. And I really think a battle royale game mode would have helped Halo Infinite last a lot longer in popularity than it has so far. And that's another thing. I feel like people keep thinking that battle royales are a genre. They're not. They're just a game mode. You can have both. Call of Duty has shown us that you can have a battle royale game mode with a lot of the other well-known arcade options that other gamers might enjoy too. And lastly, if a game is releasing with important features that the developers promised on launch, that's a red flag. Again, we can look at Halo, but I don't want to kick them on the ground because they forgot to include Forge as well as a campaign mode on release. But we can look at Overwatch 2, which was another title that kind of at one point in time promised a PvE campaign, but they kind of backpedaled on that. Now, those are all the red flags that I and my viewers could think of. If we miss any, comment them down below and I might do a part 2, especially if this video gets 200 likes. Till then, stay safe, be a KDA warrior, and I catch you guys later.